Yo.
Hello, hello.
Hola, everybody.
Great to see you.
What's going on, guys?
How are we doing today?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Very good. Really happy to have this conversation. Just to kick it off, thank you everyone for tuning in on the stream. Please, feel free to share it with anyone you want to. And also, it's going to remain online afterwards, so it's going to hopefully be a resource that you can all check out and get some information from. And so we're here today to chat about NFTs and music, and something we're all four of us are super passionate about. And I know that for a lot of let's say traditional music consumers or audiences, NFTs are a really foreign concept. And when you hear about NFTs, you hear about blockchain and crypto and all these things, which can be kind of pretty intimidating. So the idea today is to share some of the introductory conversation about them and hopefully demystify it a little bit and make it not so scary. And also share, why we feel like it's a really important thing. And so before we kick off with that, let's just do a little round of introductions and let you all know who you're here with. Latasha, you want to jump in?
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Latasha. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah, it's
okay,
clear.
Great. Just making sure. My name is Latasha. I am an artist, singer-songwriter, rapper, producer, and visual artist. I kind of play in all streams of art and enjoy doing that. But music is my heart work and my passion work. And I've been doing music for about 8 years and got into NFT about 6 months ago now. And been kind of hitting the ground running as soon as I found out about NFTs. Started out with music and then just started testing the waters with a lot of different mediums, but really have been a force in pushing music in the forefront of NFT. I'm actually the first female rapper in NFT as well, which is awesome.
Hey.
And just really excited to be in this space and share this conversation with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Latasha.
Brilliant.
Latasha is an icon, says power and glory. You are so right. You know that.
Thank you so much.
Alex, what's up?
What's up? I'm currently wishing I could take a piece of wall art from each of you right now to decorate what's behind me. But super happy to be here. My name's Alex Siber. Really appreciate everyone for signing in and checking this out. I basically have worked in or around music since high school and have mostly spent my kind of professional post-uni life working at places like STEM and AWOL and Cobalt, organizations that I felt were progressive in the sort of like traditional new music industry, but ultimately are still part of a DSP ecosystem that I view as very flawed, and have also written for a website called Pigeons and Planes for about a half decade now, just trying to treat artists who are, whether they're releasing their first record or their first album, like they're already superstars and giving them that degree of respect. And now work at Catalog, which was the first kind of place to create an audio-only NFT format for music, because we were seeing all these amazing platforms popping up in this Web3 landscape, but they were built for visual art first and foremost. And we wanted to create a place where music came first and try to prove that music on the internet can be valued above penny fractions. And hopefully we can get into that in a bit.
Absolutely, I love that. Amir is just on a call, so he'll be right back with us. We're all super multitaskers, so that's how it rolls in this world. So myself, I'm Mark the Clive-Lowe. I am a musician and producer, primarily in the jazz and electronic space, and I've been recording, releasing, and touring for over 20 years now. So I've firsthand experienced and seen that transition from the physical industry to when MP3 came in and obliterated everything, and then people eventually adopted that acronym MP3, which I'm sure was very foreign when it happened. And now here we are in a whole new world. My experience with NFT has been pretty limited so far. I've been kind of dabbling a little bit and getting to know people in the space, getting to experience the space and the culture and community of it. And it really excites me as something where, you know, I think it's the here and now and it's the future. And I'm really excited to get more involved with it myself and planning some exciting projects in that respect. So Amir's going to finish his work call, so we're gonna rock on with it. And if anyone has, you know, any questions in the audience while we're doing this, please just, you know, shout them out in the live chat, and we'll do our very best to answer and help out however we can. So I guess the first question most people have is, what is an NFT? And you know, like I just mentioned, I'm sure I remember when MP3 happened, and I was living in London at the time, and my main distributor, who was primarily a vinyl distributor, did a bit of CD and did very well with vinyl. It was like an alien concept, talking about MP3, right? And that was around 20 years ago. And so here we are with a new acronym. And Alex, your tweet was like right on the money, I think.
It's very divisive acronym, but yeah.
It's a divisive acronym, right? NFT, it's like, it's been hyped up in the industry where, you know, we've had some artists have success beyond wildest imaginations and dreams, multi-million-dollar NFTs. And I feel like that kind of alienates some artists and audiences, where artists are thinking, well, how am I going to get a multi-million-dollar NFT? And audiences are thinking, I can't afford a multi-million-dollar NFT. But I feel like that part of the space, it's important to realize that if you look at the traditional music industry and you look at like a Beyonce or a massive artist, and someone's like, yeah, well, Beyonce just dropped her album on Twitter with no promotion. It's like, well, yeah, she's Beyonce and she's massive. Right. But that doesn't mean that the independent artists can't do their album themselves. And, you know, so there's already this precedence where it's a spectrum, right? So I think it's really important today to focus on the idea of, you know, how the regular consumer and music fan can get into the space. So to answer that question, what is an NFT? Do either of you guys want to have a go at that? in layman as we can do it?
I think Alex should start that up. Because, you know, I would love to hear Alex's point of view of that.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to give this one a shot. That lead off here. I think when I try to think about how to answer that question, I just think about how I kind of first perceived these things as a fan before I ever got involved in the space. And I'm pretty new to all of it. I kind of met the folks who started building Catalog, Mike and Jeremy, in January. And that was really my first foray into all this stuff. And I remember what really, really struck me was the ability to just interact with an artist that I loved in a direct-to-fan way, which is this buzzword that's been thrown around for a decade plus now. But it's actually true. In NFT, when you're buying it from an artist, you're effectively like dancing in like outer space together. There's no Patreon taking a cut between you. You know, there's nothing there. It's just this kind of programmed thing that lets you say, I want to support this. And the artists say, okay, here you go. Thank you very much for supporting me. Nothing can get in the way of that. And as someone who, between the Pigeons and Planes stuff and the STEM and AWOL stuff, also like managed independent artists for a little period of time, we were always trying to create that experience where it was just the artist and the fan, and whether this platform disappeared or that platform disappeared, that relationship would still exist. And this really, really lets you do that. And I think it's also just a tool for access. Like an NFT is really just a key to any digital experience or in real life experience that you can imagine. There's this concept called token gating, where you can basically take this wallet, this crypto wallet, this universal sign-in that you have, that you can use across platforms. You don't need, 100 different handles and passwords for 100 different places. You just create this one thing that lets you access this magic door, that magic door, that magic door. And as an artist, you can choose to, Latasha, as you know better than me, both of you, you can put anything that you want and can possibly imagine there. And that in itself creates a discovery experience as a fan when you're opening that door and, getting the stems to the song you bought, or being the first person to watch the music video, or even by buying the NFT, unleashing the release to DSPs for the rest of the fan base and kind of being a hero for that release at that given time. It's just such a special moment. And I think in the kind of DSP ecosystem, that sense of discovery has sort of been lost because everyone is being pushed into this kind of one-size-fits-all mode of distribution and releasing and monetizing stuff. And in this environment, the artists can do really whatever they want, and that makes for happier artists, and that makes for better art, and that makes for happier fans. So I'm going to stop rambling, but yeah, Latasha, would love to hear your thoughts on all of it.
That was amazing, Alex. As always, Alex knows what to say. NFT in like the term is non-fungible token, I guess, or whatever we're calling fungible. I still can't pronounce it right, but whatever, we're here. And how I've learned to kind of describe it is it's like an autographed version of a piece of work that you're giving. So in music, at least to me, it's an autographed version of a vinyl or an autographed version of a music video or something special about this particular piece that you're giving through the metaverse or through the blockchain, as we like to call it. And another way that I've also been describing it in layman's term is like, it's like if you're giving art to a gallery and then someone is collecting your piece from a gallery, you still own your copyright. If you decide to own your copyright, you still own it. You still are receiving a royalty out of it. And there's just a lot of great benefits to creating NFTs. I personally believe, like Alex talked about, I think you're really getting to connect with your collectors or your fan or your supporter or whatever you want to call them. And you really get to become this like ecosystem village family within your art now. And I've been just witnessing that happen with a lot of my collectors now. We're like homies, and I could get to talk to them about my new pieces coming out or my new songs coming out and let them know like in advance of what's happening and what my ideas are and how I want to release things. And that has been really amazing because now they feel like they're a part of that. And I feel like they're a part of that. And I think it's so much better than having a label to me personally. No beef to labels, even though I kind of have beef with labels, but no beef to labels. It just allows you to create your own label now and create your own platform and have the people that you really want within your space to be supporting you. So that's what NFTs have been to me, at least. And yeah.
I love that. Thank you.
If I can actually hop in, yeah, because that just reminds me of one other thing that you said, Latasha, this kind of concept of it being an autograph of being this special thing. I think it's worth like even going beyond music and zooming out a little bit, just briefly talking about, why these things are valuable inherently in the first place, because that's probably one of the biggest points of confusion. It's the classic, like, $69 million for a JPEG. Like, what's wrong with you people? And, I don't necessarily think that those massive prices are by any means, the norm forever. Like Mark, like you were saying, something to strive for. And if you go beyond, like below that insane number, like your NFT release failed. Like, I think that's a very unhealthy way to look at it. But ultimately, what an NFT is letting a digital piece, any kind of anything, being provably ownable by one person or by a group of people on the internet. And for the history of the internet, that hasn't really been possible. The MP3 file that you're listening to, they're being served on Spotify is the same as the MP3 file you're being served on Apple Music. The MP3s you're downloading on iTunes once upon a time, same situation. And here you can actually prove like this person owns this work. And for a lot of folks, that's also confusing because it's like, well, why would I want to own something that you can screenshot? Or why would I want to buy a song that I can just stream on Spotify? And for, a probably significant portion of everyone on the internet around the world, like that belief won't go away. And there will always be a group of people who don't get it. But then you think about, people spending hundreds of dollars of like real money, fiat money on Farmville in the early 2010s on Facebook to compete with their friends in middle school or high school, or people spending money to buy things in, like, I don't know, like Dragonville, or just like these different applications in video games, and how big those industries are, how many people are building toward the metaverse and crypto, but also, and like all kinds of gaming. There's a growing number of people who think that owning something in a digital environment is just as valuable as owning something in a physical environment. And once you accept that, even if you personally might not fully understand it, that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, and growing, who do see value there, it starts, I think, to make a little bit more sense why someone might want to be the recognizable owner of a song that they can then play in their kind of Decentraland world that they've created, and get credit for supporting that artist super early as well.
Totally, man. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I had some thoughts I wanted to share, but Amir's back. So can you, Amir, you want to briefly just say hello and introduce yourself and what you do?
Hey, everyone. Sorry I'm late. My name is Amir, aka Sirsu on Twitter. I'm an artist first and foremost, but I'm also the founder of the Mint Fund, which is a fund dedicated to helping artists mint their first NFTs, and empowering artists in general, especially if you're Black, Indigenous, or people of color, and of the queer spectrum. And then I'm also founder of The Well, which is dedicated to immortalizing Black culture on the blockchain.
That's amazing in itself, right there.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. I just wanted to briefly say, in response to what we've just been talking about, that one perspective I have about an NFTs, kind of in layman terms, is they're like a digital box, and you can put anything in that digital box. And so if you buy my digital box, it could be one of many things in there. But the beauty of that is that maybe as the different things happen in my career, that box, it becomes more valuable. Mm-hmm. And then someone else might want to buy that box from you. And the beauty of that, when that happens, is that not only you're investing in something which can accrue value and appreciate, but the beauty of that is that I get some of that royalty back. And then when that person may sell that box one day, I still get some of that royalty back. And I had a really kind of penny drop moment in Japan a few years back. I was in a record store in Tokyo, and I was going through the record stores in the records in the jazz section, and there was a reissue of Bill Evans' Waltz for Debbie, and it was about $20. I was like, cool, keep looking through. And then I saw a first pressing of Bill Evans' Waltz for Debbie, and that was $400. And I said to my friend who I was with, I was like, isn't this interesting? If I buy the $20 one, then Bill Evans' estate will get a little cut. If I buy the $400 one, Bill Evans' estate will get nothing. Mm. And for me, that's highly problematic in the creation of art as far as music goes. In visual art, this precedence is the same. It's like, you want to sell your Picasso. Well, the Picasso estate is not getting any of that money. So there's no long-term value for the creator. And for me, that's a massive part of it. Mm-hmm. And then just speaking to that kind of box analogy where anything can go in it. And again, stepping away from music for a second, one NFT I found quite interesting recently is the NBA rookie LaMelo Ball has issued some NFTs where I haven't fully digested it, but as I understand it, it's like if you buy one of these NFTs, which you can imagine kind of like a digital, like a baseball card kind of thing, or basketball in this case. But you buy one of these NFTs, and over LaMelo Ball's career, which is, I guess, going to be the next 20 years, that NFT is going to keep changing, and he'll keep putting new things into it. So over time, you have this asset, this digital asset, which is going to become something you can't even imagine. And there could be anything in there. You could wake up one day and LaMelo Ball's like, here's courtside tickets to the finals. Here's the meet and greet. And so they have the potential to really grow and expand beyond the digital world as well, where we're going to see NFTs used for ticketing and for merch and all sorts of things where the interface, which is what's I think confusing a lot of people right now, the interface will be invisible. in the same way that when you use Spotify on your phone, you don't have to know what an MP3 is or the bit rate or anything. You just like, I want to listen to this, click, and it's there. So I really see that coming. But yeah, Amir, is there anything you want to say as far as your intro to what these things are?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when we get to the points where we actually start showing kind of like a technical hands, I'll definitely show a little bit more stuff. But you know, I think the one thing that you brought up, and the one thing that I like also talking about is like this composability, the fact that a creative idea that you or friends of yours or a group of you come up with, right, can create an entire community, an entire environment around this singular thing, and it can branch into multiple different facets of whatever you're interested in. So, and we're starting to see groups come together to buy and support scientific research, right? If we're looking at like the Berkeley DAO organization, which is rooted of alumni from Berkeley. I think that's a really amazing niche community group, but it really speaks to the fact that like, if there are self-organizing entities that want to come up with things, NFTs are the conduit in which people can rally around a cause or rally around a creative idea or an asset that they want to own or something that they want to support. And as an individual, as a creative within this entire space of like what NFTs are and creating this very unique thing, right? Because at the end of the day, all the NFT is a conduit for unique information to be transferred between one holder to the next holder, right? But as a result of this like it opens up a vast array of options in which this unique conduit can be. And it just really speaks to, I think for me, my general excitement as to like what our world's gonna look like next year, 5 years, 10 years from now, when all of us are having this as kind of like a core fundamental aspect of when we create or what we make or just what we put out there. And the fact that these things are going to be able to talk to each other and that they can be exchanged for value. It's like we now are at a place to where the things that we own in our space or the things that we can create that we own in our space like has a trackable value that we can then use to cleanly exchange within someone else. Like I'm thinking about the 2 posters I have in the back of my wall. Like if those were like NFTs, like, and if somebody wanted to like have that in their space, I could just send that to them and they get to have and cherish this thing, but it has and holds all this rich history of the fact that I was a holder of it. So then there's a whole level of story that's embedded with these things that I could speak to for the years I've had it, that now somebody else can add to that narrative over time. And so when we look at like the end of things, being able to track a life cycle of one creative idea and how it's evolved over time through this method is just going to be like, I don't know, just beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, right.
So much so. I mean, we're going to look back in 20 years' time and be like, wow. I mean,
yeah,
you know, the way, 20 years ago, like I mentioned, MP3 was brand new, or 30 years ago, email was brand new, and or the internet was brand new, and now we can't live without it in a way. I really dig the idea that Latasha, you mentioned mentioning record labels, which any artist who's worked with a label has a love-hate relationship with that, which that's a spectrum, right? And the idea that NFTs take out the middleman. So, when it comes to music as it is right now, as artists, we're beholden to Spotify and Apple Music and Tidal and the like thereof.
right.
And the issue there is, I mean, for the audience, it's amazing. And I'm sure all of us can relate where, you can take out your phone and you have the whole history of music and all the new releases right there. That's pretty amazing. But the idea that, I'm gonna sit down and create in the studio or go in the studio with the band and really create this art and then get remunerated 1/3 of a penny per stream,
Problematic.
or even if we go back a little bit into the good old days when we got $1 per track on iTunes, I mean that just doesn't make sense to me. And
Agreed.
And I don't think there's any music fan who could say to your face, it's like, yeah, no, I think that's fair. You know? So
yeah.
How do you?
I mean,
actually, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm just already so excited for this question.
Please, go ahead, please.
I think what has gone on for a long time is just an imbalance, right? Like it's been an imbalance between the artists and the consumer, and also the artist and the label or whatever have you. And we're finally seeing the tables turn with NFT. I feel like now the artist has their hands back and could control what this is going to look like again. And that's why I got really excited about this. I mean, the first time I sold my first NFT, which was like a mini music video or like performance art piece with music, it sold in 3 minutes and I made $1,000. And I literally started crying because I was just like, wow, I pushed this song on all my platforms for how long? This song's probably like 4 years old. And I didn't see that much money coming out of it in 3 minutes. Never. Right. And now I'm seeing that and I'm like, wow, I could take that value and like make a structure out of this and see the value in all of that I'm creating now. Right. Before we couldn't really gauge. A lot of people are like, how much is your music really making you? And it's so complicated to gauge those things as an independent artist. Like I'm looking at my distribution list and trying to make sense of like how much I'm making out of iTunes, how much I'm making out of YouTube. There's no breakdown there, right? Like it's all not transparent. And what NFT is allowing is that transparency of what my value is finally. And there's so many times where I've spoken to a label and they're like, you're not making as much as the label's going to offer you. Your sweat equity doesn't speak to this, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, wow, I put my whole life into this pretty much. And you're telling me that this doesn't equate. And then when NFT came and I started putting my art that was already out there in the world, it immediately showed the value that I've been thinking that my art was supposed to speak for, right? And that has been the best part about it. It's like I'm big on wellness for artists, and I think this is where the wellness is. You're starting to see that your value is what you've been imagining it to be. It's just now a whole new structure. And what I'm also really excited about is just value in the digital, right? Like we've been so many now through all of the planets of platforms that we've been through, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. And so many artists have just been putting their art on there, hoping a brand will be like, oh yes, I will accept you into my brand work. And now you'll have to work for me and follow my instruction on what I want you to do. And you know, I did that. I've been a sync artist and I've been an artist that dealt with brands and all of that stuff. And I hated it. I hated it so much because I couldn't be my fullest self. And now I'm witnessing artists come into the NFT space and being like, wow, I have this opportunity to be fully me and show all of the aspects of myself through my art. And so that's where the value is to me. It's seeing that value in the digital. And with music, we lost a huge opportunity for that with MP3, with Spotify, with all of these, you know, platforms. And now I'm starting to see like, wow, you know, NFT, yes. I think the complication that we're still dealing with right now is getting the royalties aspect together, like with pros and with performance royalties. But we're working at it with, you know, making sure you're always getting a royalty every time this thing sells. And we're finding other means of tokenizing this and et cetera. So I'm just really excited overall. I think this is going to change the tables and give artists back what they've been deserving for a long time.
Absolutely.
And then on the flip side of that, where, you know, that's the artist perspective, I think we're very clear on. So the audience perspective, the consumer, the music fan, the listener, the flip side of that for them is that you're supporting the artist for real.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had, let's say if my biggest fan had maybe 5,000 computers or phones all streaming my Spotify 24/7, then that would be supporting me.
Exactly.
Like financially, but that's not even possible, right? So the idea that, someone who loves Latasha, loves your work. It's like, oh wow, I can really be part of your core community. I can contribute to your art, your creativity, your livelihood, so that you can give me more of what I love.
Exactly. And also the consumer, if they buy an NFT, they're also winning, because at the end of the day, these NFTs will have value. I already resold some work off a catalog that, once was at $3,000 and the next minute somebody resold it for $5,000. And I'm like, that's incredible. Even the consumer is allowed to play this game of, creating value for themselves as well. So that's the other aspect of it that I'm really excited about too.
Yeah, I'm also really, really excited about that. And I think it's tough as well because there is, a valid narrative around the increasing just financialization of music. And it's a really big deal in the publishing industry, where you have these giant funds that are gobbling up as much, basically, as they say, IP or content, but, art and music as possible, to treat as effectively annuities or perpetuity, just like, long-term assets to hold and profit from. But there is a beautiful aspect of that you're speaking to, Latasha, as well, where if you think about, people who get the short end of the stick in music, artists are obviously always right there at the tip of our tongues, but you do have entire fan bases effectively doing free labor, pushing for these people who they love and never really seeing much in return for it. I mean, the most extreme cases, probably being BTS. I remember one story a year or two ago of their fan base coming together and purchasing literally millions of dollars worth of ad space in the States in support for a singular album that they had dropped. And the ability to welcome those people into all of this is a really, really beautiful thing as well. It kind of defeats this sort of standalone artist on a pedestal, like almost as like godlike figure, and instead becomes more about a, not to like quote Bernie Sanders, but like not me, us mentality that I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, this becomes a village now, for real. Yeah.
For real.
We have some questions coming through in the chats, which is fantastic. Please, if you have questions, drop them in there. The more technical stuff, I'm not sure we're going to have the scope for today, because we really want to provide an introduction for people. But I have, just as an aside, I've linked an article in the description of the video, which is a pretty good comprehensive intro to the technical side of what, why, and how. But I wanted to share this question from Simon Rentner. It's kind of multiple questions, but I think we can address part of it. Can we have a discussion about decorum? What formats have you seen where NFTs as a work of art are most successful? Do you think a formula or standard will emerge, or do you think it will apply to all digital products released in the future? What are some of your favorites? So I think that's interesting, because we all, I'm sure you'll have a lot to say on it, but I think fundamental to NFTs is that there is no one way to do this, and there's no formula. What will work for you may not work for me, and vice versa. And it's an open playing field. It's kind of like going back to the box analogy. If I give you an empty box, you put whatever you want in it, So would any of you like to speak to that as far as?
Yeah, I could definitely take something on. You may have to excuse me. For some reason, my street is so narrow and there's so many cars trying to go by. I was literally hearing horns for 20 minutes, just straight up. So that happened. So if so, I'll just mute myself. But anyway, so decorum and like, so what I love about the space is that there's a huge group of advocates that, for instance, last summer when I first started, there were a lot of people that were trying to be foul play actors. They would assume that they were an artist. They would rip some work off from ArtStation, whatever, put it onto an NFT platform, and then say that, oh, I'm the artist. And when people found that out, they got rid of those accounts very quickly. Many a time they were able to even get those same people to send the funds back to the folks that had been ripped off. And the community gets stronger each and every time some of these things happen. So when it comes to the space, I'm very comfortable, and I have solace in the fact that These are people who are really advocates and want to support us as artists, as musicians, as writers, poets, creatives of all types, because they've already known, as a consumer perspective knows, how much we've been ripped off as creatives dealing with things in the regular Web2 space. And so, you know, the fact that there's a large group of us that are fighting against that, just from that level, I think speaks highly of where this space is going to go in the future. As far as formats, where works of art have been most successful, again, I think it's super early, right? We've got platforms that have some level of like brand recognition and variance. So for instance, there was a time where if you minted on Super Rare, that was where you would guarantee to make a good mint off of your work. But now we have a player like Foundation. We've got a player like Zora, which brings about like some of the old like 2004 to 2007 like subnet forum culture, like Tumblr, early Tumblr days, into this like kind of helping you experiment and think of different ways in which you can mint things. For example, like I used to mint audio notes. There was another woman who minted a recipe for a famous like food item she likes to make, right? And it was like a 3-part series. So there's all sorts of different things that if you can generate interest in the community around, it can be supported as an NFT. Yep. As far as formula and standard is concerned, the same thing that Mark was talking about, the standards are only going to be in how the tech improves. For instance, and not to get technical right now, like there are multiple different ways of minting an NFT type. One speaks to one that's very, very like unique and singular. Another one speaks to something that's unique but multiple, right? We may have more standards like that that may even create a different class of what an NFT could potentially be like. But if we're talking about formulas of success and formulas in which you would deploy a particular smart contract to make something happen, these things are going to be varied by context, by the story that you want to tell. The fact that we do have like certain open source tools though, and I think this speaks to the fact that of how collaborative and open and variable this space can be, those are the things that are going to be improved on over time. The more that we work in this space, the better it gets. And then some of the favorites. Oh man. Okay, so I've got a few. There's a piece called Heat Check by this artist Corey Van Loo. It's basically his characters are like around like basically kind of like himself and his brother, and it looks like he's using like it's a double entendre. It's heat check because he's checking the temperature using a COVID like temperature device, but it's also a heat check because they're wearing very fresh gear. So if you think about sneaker culture, a heat check is like you walking around with some ill shoes. People are like, "Damn, son, that's fire." Another piece that I like is part of Mark's Motherland series that's coming out soon. We'll talk about that at some point, but that's one of my favorites because it is a meditative, like spiritual ride, and I really love that kind of shit. And then one of my other favorites is it's a cop-out because it's not just like one piece. But the work that came out of this recent show, The Digital Diaspora, hosted by Diana Sinclair, that features Latasha, and the work that speaks to like the Black experience as far as what we look like and what we're going to be doing and how we feel sort of like this present, but in our future, that doesn't speak to anything that we've dealt with traumatically in the past. I think it was just like a refresh of what we normally see when it comes to like Black art that's normally popularized. If it's not street culture, if it's like intellectualized art in gallery, you normally see work about the Black experience from a traumatic or introspective lens. But this was something just completely outside of that. It was like, we have whatever we have at our disposal, and this is the kind of life that we live. And that was very, very promising because it really made me feel like that could be my future. So the Digital Diaspora from Diana Sinclair hosted with Foundation, that also has Latasha's piece in there. fucking incredible. And of course, we got to see Latasha perform for the first time in 2 years. So that was a blessing. So
Wow, yeah.
Awesome. Oh, wow. Yeah, dang. Sirsu, that was the answer of answers. I don't even know where to go next. Oh, I think, man, there are so many questions here. I think what I've been challenging with the NFT space is just being a variety show and just like trying all the things that you've ever wanted to try. I often feel like as a musician, I've been kind of closed in to only do music and music video and through NFT. And I've always loved to draw. I've always loved to do all these other aspects of being an artist, right? And I think most artists actually like to do more than one art. I don't think any of my artist friends like to do just one thing. I think most of them are like, oh, sometimes I draw, sometimes I'm rapping, sometimes I'm singing, right? So I was like, when I got into the space, I was like, word, what I'm going to do is everything. I'm going to show up as everything and make sure other artists believe in that idea of being everything in all things and trying new things. So whenever someone's asking me like, what's the most successful NFT or like best way to get into the space, I'm like, the best thing that you can do is be fully yourself and try anything that you want to do in this space, because this is the space for it. And do it early. If you're going to start today, start with the thing that speaks to like the most epic version of yourself now, you know? And I think that's the best thing that you could do walking into it. Some of my favorite NFTs also are from the digital diaspora, which you guys could go check out on the foundation. I don't want to hype myself, but one of my favorite NFTs were one of my NFTs, which was the Mactiverse NFT, which was like the first time I got to put out like a music video clip onto NFT, and that did really well. It was like a crazy bidding war off of it. And I just really I just love what's happening with NFT period. I think what artists are getting out of this is being icons. I really believe like in the next few years, we're going to see the new icon of artists through NFT, and yeah, with the community intact to it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favorite part of what's going on right now. Just the degree that community is actually happening, and it's not just being deployed as a buzzword. Like the number of folks who've made rent via friends they made through Discord, gotten jobs through sending DMs. Like it's really beautiful, and it reminds me of when I was first getting started in music, and Twitter was like really my LinkedIn, and SoundCloud for the artists I was working with were like just the places where they made best friends. And I think that's happening again with new tools, even like kind of Web2 tools like Discord that allow people to organize in ways that are more meaningful than ever before online. But to answer the question as well, like through the lens of catalog, it's really important to us that we create a space for music that isn't kind of dictated by skip rates or like streams per listener, or, you know, just penalizing songs, even if they don't sell. Like it's to us, it's also about building this archive and being a place where artists, musicians in particular, recording artists feel comfortable and safe, like just exploring and getting their feet wet. And one of my favorite pieces that's come out on the site, in addition to all of Latasha's brilliant work, is by this artist, Tom Tide, who basically wanted to create something distinct and unique and took 4 or 5 singles that he had released over the course of a couple months and kind of reimagined them into these series of vignettes that all existed within one song. And am just so in love with anyone who kind of pushes themselves to take something they've done before and recreate or recombine elements to make something different. And then on the visual end, there's an artist who I just have really liked for a couple of years now, Sean Williams, who really has embraced all of this stuff since forever. And it's been so amazing since I first DM'd him, being like, hey, this like Kendrick Lamar shirt you made is so cool. Like, thank you. I got it from my friend. Like in the year or two since then, just seeing him becoming a really important voice in this space too has been awesome. And yeah, just as someone who I guess like works at a platform that will hopefully be a collectively owned, just kind of living, breathing network or space in the coming years, just experiment. Like there's room for songs that you know, we listen to on loop when we're studying or when we're running, and there's room for songs that you sit with and you kind of stop everything you're doing after it ends and you're like, what did I just hear? And you might not revisit it for another 3 months, but it just hits you. And we think it's really important to kind of safeguard those songs as well and contextualize them. The last thing I'll say on this ramble is like, Mark, just getting back to something you said earlier, as awesome as it is as listeners, as fans, to have so much accessibility to music at the tip of our fingers, especially from different places around the world. Like my dad's side of the family's from the Middle East, and for the longest time growing up, it was really hard for me to find music from Lebanon, from Syria, from Armenia. And I'm grateful that, you know, there's like little blogs, little corners of Bandcamp that make that stuff possible. But so often on these platforms, nothing is really contextualized. We're being served all of this music in grids like it's a spreadsheet, and there's so much room we can do to improve there as well. And I think that's what we're really trying to build collectively, just all of us in this chat.
Yeah. Can I just give some praise to Catalog as well? Because I've just really been amazed by Catalog and all that they're doing in the space. I feel like that was when I saw Catalog, that was like the first time I felt like, oh my God, truly music is going to be in a new frontier with Catalog. I love the premise of just one-to-one NFTs that are music. I feel like that's just so dope and brings a new value to music, period. And yeah, I just wanted to give you guys praise because you always, Alex, you know I love you guys, but like I seriously just feel like if we could get as many artists on Catalog as possible, we need to do it ASAP. And it's going to transform what artists feel like about their art. Personally, I think a lot of times I felt like I didn't want to put music out on Spotify because it was just going to get drowned out by all the not nonsense. Okay, let me be nice. All the things that are happening through Spotify. And Catalog really allows artists to be seen and to be heard. And that was my favorite part about just being a part of it. So just wanted to give some praise for that.
On behalf of all four of us at Catalog, that's really, really appreciated. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we've kind of built like 0.1% of what we envision. And there's so many things that we need to improve upon. And we really can't do that without like help from people like you, Latasha. So yeah, if at any point in time, I think, yeah, our handles have been going across the screen. You know, if anyone wants to talk about this stuff further, like has questions or suggestions, really about just how to kind of redistribute attention and resources to as many artists as possible, please feel free to hit me up. That'd be great.
I love the idea that, you know, all three of you just touched on, where the NFT space creates a freedom of narrative, and Spotify and the like does not. The radio most certainly does not. It's like, you know, the artists, or musicians and artists and audiences have been conditioned into this kind of very systematic culture where, you know, where whatever it might be in different formats, but that kind of, you know, intro hook, like just get the earworm and you know, sell units, and that's kind of been the game. So there hasn't been a lot of space for, I guess, more niche creatives to really blossom and flourish.
Right.
And I mean, it exists. I mean, I remember seeing articles saying that, you know, 1% of the audience listen to jazz. So I was like, 1%? Okay, so there's a space, but it's not a big one. And so I'm really excited for what we can develop and gain from NFTs and Web3, just all this new technology that's coming that, like I mentioned earlier, ultimately these words, NFT, Web3, or like blockchain, those won't even matter because it'll be so embedded in the culture and the day-to-day culture. So I'm super excited about that. And for me, and not to self-promo too hard, but Amir mentioned it, Sirsu, so I'm gonna jump on that. I'm doing a drop this weekend, the Motherland project.
Nice.
And I'm really excited about this because there's no other way I could have done this.
except for an NFT.
And in that, what I'm presenting is like a long form audio visual kind of immersive music art experience, it's like a 43-minute film.
Wow.
And so that'll be one NFT, and then all the music, the 8 pieces, they'll be on catalog as 8 separate audio NFTs. And then creating this kind of hierarchy where the winning bidder of the film, which we're calling a super NFT, they get a royalty on all the audio NFTs and everything else.
Amazing.
So that kind of model, kind of creating more value and community and more ways to make this meaningful beyond the narrative itself, which to me is super meaningful. It's a piece based on my Japanese roots and culture and heritage, and interpreting that through my experiences. But so to be able to share that and have it in a system where it's not like, okay, so I'm going to put the video on YouTube and then you can stream it on Spotify, which to me is not the game. And also, it's not the kind of content which I want to have just popping up on a Spotify algorithm. I want it to be received with intention because it was very much created with intention.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to share that with people. And of course, I'm excited to see what happens with the NFT auctions. But beyond that, or more than that, it's about the community and culture and the technology and what that can facilitate.
That's huge, Mark. I'm so excited for that. That is massive. Like, I'm excited for you because I know that you just came into the space and you were like, I don't know what to do, but I'm here. And I was like, Mark, you got this. Like, you're going to kill it. Oh man, that's massive. I'm so excited for that project to come out. Really huge, really huge.
I mean, Latasha,
seeing what you've been doing, that's been so inspiring for me because we've been aware of each other kind of at a digital distance.
Yeah.
And I've seen you doing different things, and just before you started the NFTs, there was a crowdfunder for something, and just seeing these different things you were doing, I was like, yeah, I relate to this amazing artist because she's trying different things and just exploring. And similarly to you, when I saw catalog, I was like, oh my goodness, how do I get on this? Like, this is an answer. This is like everything I'm looking for. And similarly with Zora, the first time I saw Zora. And so, I mean, for this Motherland drop, those are the 2 primary platforms, Zora and Catalog works.
Nice.
Catalog. So it's super exciting for me to see what's possible and to be able to make offerings that couldn't exist elsewhere. I mean, I know Latasha, what was your NFT? It was a verse, right?
Yeah, for Mactiverse, it was just a verse. Yeah, but I've been using Zora a lot because I firstly love Zora. Zora was like the first platform that I started working with when I started NFTs. And I felt like Zora had this downtown 81 feel that I was going for, and very like kind of retro Tumblr kind of vibes. And I was like, word, this is my home kind of base. So I started with Zora. And I also love that Zora is like unlimited upload size. Like I deal with like huge files that are like music videos and things like that. And so that was really important for me. So I got into Zora through that. And so it was really cool to like now witness more people getting into Zora because of those reasons. And I just love the community that's in Zora. I feel like Zora has like this cool, edgy community that is like going to be the next wave of what's coming for digital art and just in real life art as well. So yeah.
I think maybe
worth mentioning this time too is that there are obviously so many different platforms or marketplaces where NFTs are happening. And there's a question, I think actually it was in the comments, someone asked, well, what platform do you recommend? And from my observation, the idea of being platform agnostic is really important. It's like if there's I guess in the current music industry, if there's some music I really love and I want and it's only on vinyl, I'll buy the record. If it's only on Spotify, I'll listen to it on Spotify. If it's only on Bandcamp, I'll go to Bandcamp. So it's not like I'm saying, I only listen to vinyl or I only use Spotify. It's more like, there's amazing stuff everywhere.
And also there's going to be a
proliferation of new marketplaces too. I mean, we have these kind of major players, but it's going to keep evolving, right?
Yeah, there's a ton coming up right now. Like in the next few months, it's going to get massive. But I also say, like, if you find like a loyalty to a platform, don't be afraid of that as well. Because I found that like sometimes I have gone and jumped on different platforms, and I do that too. Like I have specific things that I do on specific platforms. Rareable, it's all my visual art. Zora is more of my multimedia pieces, and then Catalog obviously is more of just my music with like cool cover art. And Foundation I've been starting to use for just visual pieces as well. But if you find like you found a home base with something, you know, keep playing off of that, because you start growing a community out of that as well. I've definitely grown a huge community out of just putting a lot of my multimedia pieces on Zora, and people are always asking me, okay, when's your next Zora drop? Like, we're waiting, you know, and like, that's something to think about too. I don't recommend just being on one platform, but I recommend, you know, having a home turf. Everybody calls me Zora mommy as well, so that's like just another joke. But but that's just because I've been living there. But you know, have your things and just try things. Exactly what Alex said. Experiment, experiment, experiment. That's what this time is for right now.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, Alex. Go on.
No, Mark, take it away.
I just wanted to
pose a question that I think comes up a lot for the audience and for consumers and music fans and the like. It's like, okay, so I can buy this NFT, but what can I do with it?
Great question.
Anyone?
I
Go ahead. Sirsu.
I mean, I love this question because it's like, so I mean, because like you have the two questions, right? The first question is, say if I buy it, what do I do with it? And the other question is usually, well, what would I buy it with? Why would I spend an asset that appreciates like ETH to buy this NFT when I could just buy it in cash? If you could buy it in cash. But, and I'll do the second question first and then go back to the first one, because I think they kind of like work together a little bit, right? To acquire an NFT, if you use cash, you're not actually really participating in the crypto environment, in the crypto system, right? But by using the actual assets, right, the ERC20 token, that is ETH, Ethereum, or let's say Zora allows you to use other tokens that might be of interest to you, right? That could be of social communities like Friends with Benefits, or like a creator token like Rack token, or whatever the case is, right? Like, you use these because these tokens give you access to the rest of the crypto environment and all other communities that require that type of participation. By using fiat cash, you're still saying, I'm only approaching this at an arm's length. I only want to deal with this person, but I don't actually want to give anything back into that community. I just want to extract value. And fiat's also, it's not like it's the hardest thing to implement from a technical perspective, but you're not allowing the flow of these assets to then hit the pockets of the artist. And that's really the point of this, right? Like, the point of buying an NFT is for support and for patronage. And by being a part of this crypto model, we have Legos that we can activate this work so that it provides value back to you as the holder. And this could be done in multiple different ways. It could be done financially by like one of Mark's models, which is by owning this super NFT, you gain a royalty percentage from the sales of all the other audio that's been purchased from that auction ad infinitum, so long as you hold the piece, right? That's a financial incentive. Social incentive could say, by owning this one piece, you're entitled to a meet and greet, or like a studio session, or whatever the case is, something that actually like you can merge the real world into, right? It could be a combination of these two things. It could be access to another social community, or a hack space, or, you know, like you were talking about with LaMelo Ball, for example, like I know there's like tiers of his. One of them is by his performance in points. So the more points he scores in his career, the more merchandise you may be able to unlock as a result of holding this thing, right? Like the combinations are fucking endless. So like, why you would want to buy this thing is because you get so much more value extracted, because you've given someone like something in real value. And that's why you would want to also use the crypto related assets in tandem so that that can also be spread so that these artists can then support other artists that they care about. It's much harder to do that when you're using something as the US dollar because it's only an extractive transaction. It's not something that's additive to the rest of the community.
Exactly.
Hopefully that answered both questions, at least in the way in which I've been able to see it. You know, it's not like what I'm saying is 100%, but this is how I've been seeing the space. And I think by really being fully participatory within it, you get the most out of it.
I agree.
And there's so many situations where you have an NFT and the creator is offering some kind of physical goods with it as well. I know the Blau drop, which was massive in the millions, was tied to vinyl as well. And I mean, similarly with my Motherland drop, there's, I've had 4 vinyl manufactured, hand-pressed vinyl, that's all, 4 copies. And so to be able to like have that kind of thing and have that as part of the drop is, I think, really important to kind of bridge the worlds, bridge the metaverse and the IRL real world we live in.
And also reconstruct our worlds. I'm sorry.
No, please, that's amazing, please.
Yeah, and reconstruct our worlds. Like, I mean, right now we're going to transform the industries that we're in because of NFT. Music industry is about to get a kick, you know what I mean? And beyond that, I mean, I'm thinking real future, but America might become ETH country in like a few hundred years or whatever. We don't know, maybe sooner, and countries will now not have to deal with the ecosystems that they're in, right? I mean, I don't want to go into the politics of it because I'm not good at that, but I've seen and heard a lot of people talk about like what ETH has done for their country, what other like tokens have done for their country, and allowed them to like not have to deal with the taxes and all the other issues that we're dealing with importation and stuff. So it's just another concept of how we're going to really change the world, all in all.
And that's speaking to, I mean, that's empowering the individual to change the world, right? And it's, we've been sold this idea of like, well, you're a citizen, you have a vote. Well, vote. You can change the world by voting. And obviously that system has major issues, right? Especially in this country, but all over the world. And this is an example of where really, truly individuals can change culture, reality, civilization, wealth, everything. It's so exciting in that respect. And we can't even imagine what's going to come even in 1 year, let alone in 10 or 20 years, right? Wow. Hey, so originally I was thinking with this conversation that we get into an aspect of kind of walking people through how to mint, but I feel like that's kind of, we've got a great focus on the kind of more general, the general descriptions and the culture of NFTs in the space. And so I have actually put a link to an article in the description of the video, which I'll also post in the comments. But there's a pretty good intro guide to minting there. And it's, I'm sorry, to how to mint, also how to purchase and set up a wallet. And there's a little bit of a learning curve, which I think scares some people off. But it's pretty empowering once you do it. It's like, okay, now I'm in. I mean, I know for me, I imagine you all had a similar experience. The first time I had my wallet sorted out, my MetaMask, had a bit of ETH in there, and I went on to Zora. It's like, oh my goodness! I'm like, it's like you're walking into the shop and you have money. It's like, and even whether that was to buy something or not, it was just like, okay, now I'm here, and now we can do something.
Yeah.
Here's a question, but. I don't understand that question from George McKee Keys, but you got a link?
Though.
Yeah, it does sound interesting, which we could decipher that, but I'm not quite sure what it is.
I think this is the Morpheus moment. What if I told you? No, I mean, but that's what I mean. If that's the question, then that's what NFTs are part of that solution of being outside of the current systems that have continually extracted value from creatives. you know, and like when we first talked about the beginning origins of the internet, it was kind of how we feel now, where it's like, holy crap, like we have this level of unbridled access to things, right? To like information. And then the second part of Web 2 was, how do we disseminate this information, but also create like these micro communities, right? And that's where social media sort of like really sprouted out of, is like, let's bring people together globally. Unfortunately, the flip side of this was, while we were still searching for this access to really good information, we were also being extracted of our own personal information at the same time. And so what we've been able to deliver for everyone else had created exponential growth, but we never received the value that we've contributed to this, because we weren't privy to it at first. And then when we were privy to it, there was nothing in place legally for us to be able to extract this value. And so now we're at this place to where we've reflected on the first two, and we're in a position to where we can completely say, when it comes to private information, sure, I may not be like feeling a way about giving this to you. I might be okay with giving this to you, but I do know now I can track directly what my information is going to do for your business, your company, your community, or whatever, and I can extract that value 100% as accurate as possible. Whereas before, I couldn't extract anything, and at least now we're able to do it in a way that's exponentially better than anything else that we've seen, and it's only getting better. The fact that we spend billions of dollars already within this space, and we're just talking straight up like NFTs, which is encompassing of fine art, music, collectibles, everything, right? And it's still a very hard process from a user experience perspective. Still very difficult from a learning curve of understanding how the blockchain works. And then on top of that, what do NFTs do? And on top of that, so you mean to tell me it could be any and everything? Yes, kind of just understand the system, right? Like, you feel me? Like, there's all this stuff that like we have to slowly and intelligently disseminate, in which we can still give people agency, right? But the fact that we're spending so much time and attention and money into this, and the fact that the culture is showing up to really invent what our new means of creative access and collaboration is going to be, like, I know for a fact it's here to stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as long as we continue to have these kind of conversations, and we don't dumb down what's happening, right? Because like, if you think of, if somebody says cloud computing to you, you probably still have no idea what cloud computing actually does. And what that does is that creates a blocker for folks who can't build with it. And so long as we don't do that same thing with the blockchain, and we don't try to like completely reduce it, and we really try to get people to understand it so that they can say, oh, I can do X, Y, and Z with this, then we've inspired the new generation of builders that are going to take what we're doing and push it further, right? And so I think, like, you know, this is kind of like what we're doing is how we're getting out of the current programming, and it's happening in real time. I'm super excited about
it. Absolutely, man. You're speaking
so much, so many facts there. I love it. So I had one thought which just escaped me that I wanted to share, but it just disappeared into the ether.
Yeah.
It'll come back. But also, I think we've covered so much ground here, and I feel like anyone who's curious about the space, I mean, there are a lot of resources online to dig into and teach you more and guide you through the process. Whether you're an artist who wants to mint, or a consumer or collector who wants to get involved from that side of it. So I think there's, we've definitely, hopefully provided some insight and helped demystify some of it. Do you guys have any, I think, it's a good time to kind of start to wrap up. So do you guys have any closing comments or thoughts you'd like to share?
I'm just hearing Simon's question.
Right.
Oh, you're looking at Simon's question?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you want to address that, Alex?
honestly might not be best suited for it because I have limited experience with some of the other blockchains. I can speak to why catalog is built on Ethereum if it's helpful, but I'm not sure if, yeah. All right, cool. So for context, there are basically all kinds of different networks that are sometimes independent of each other, sometimes interdependent with each other. These things that we call blockchains, basically different kind of vehicles to exchange information and value, and then have this sort of like public history book that documents everything that's happened on top of it. Ethereum is one of the most significant ones, one of the oldest ones, and it's what Catalog is built on top of. Technically, Catalog is built on top of Zora, which is built on top of Ethereum. And one of the main reasons we're there is just because it's really important to our team that a catalog record is permanent, and Ethereum, given the scale of the decentralized network, is kind of the closest that we feel we've gotten. I don't want to say like as humanity, that feels like a little dramatic, but kind of the closest we've gotten on the internet, at least in the digital sphere, to preserving information. And we think that's really, really critical, even if you look at examples of like, this is kind of silly, but, you know, performance videos on YouTube suddenly disappearing because some random person had a copyright issue in that territory, or platforms coming and going, like all the information that's been lost on MySpace. When you think about how close SoundCloud was to, you know, bankruptcy and then insolvency and everything, that was artists around the world just terrified that their music and the communities they created would be gone there. We want to have faith that what we're building on Catalog, and most importantly, the art being released through Catalog, will be there. You know, barring like, God forbid, well, climate disaster in 100 years or way less, or nuclear war. You know, like as dependable as possible. And there's just also such a massive community of artists and also developers who are working every day to build, you know, better and better and better versions of that blockchain. We kind of feel strongly about being a part of that, and that's probably the extent to which I can speak to this. But just the idea of permanence and having that archive is really critical to what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
I think that's great information.
I appreciate
you all taking time for this chat today and sharing your passion for NFTs.
Thanks, Mark.
This was great.
Really great. This was really, really great. I'm just asking as many musicians as possible to just start thinking about NFT. I really, really believe that this is going to reconstruct the music industry, and we already know how the music industry is running, and we don't need to complain about it anymore. We just need to do something, and this is an opportunity for us to really do something. So yeah, if you're here and you're a musician and haven't minted your first NFT, go ahead and talk to Alex soon and get in there. And if not, there's other opportunities as well. Like you can use Zora, you could still, I know OpenSea has started doing stuff with music as well, but I big up Zora and Catalog all the time for music first. So get in there, guys. Do what you got to do.
That's a fact. You can also check us out at themint.fund. We'll be opening up new forms for folks who are interested in minting NFTs for the first time. We have interactive workshops. We invite artists who are pretty successful in the space to talk about their experiences. We'll be doing a lot more fireside chats. I'm going to be talking to the three of you specifically at some point in the next couple of weeks about doing some programming around music. But yeah, we're doing some cool things, and we service everyone globally too. So that's kind of our big focus. There's a lot of access to information and like on-ramping into this space in both the EU and like the US specifically, but almost everywhere else around the world, there's a lot more challenges. There goes the horns. A lot more challenges related to getting folks into this space, especially if you look at certain countries that are trying to ban cryptocurrency and things of that nature. We have ways in which we can kind of mitigate and get around it. And also for places like you may not even be able to emote or have a voice or express yourself in using your own art. We're here as an advocate to help you put your work out there, even if you're in a place that you may have persecution as a result of it. But if we can get your work out and get you into a place to where you can leave those kind of situations, that's what the Mint Fund is for.
Incredible.
I think that also speaks to the idea of community in this space. I mean, I feel like in the traditional music industry and probably other creative industries, gatekeepers galore, left, right, and center. But there's something very unique about the NFT space, and I found through my own personal experience. Anyone I've approached with an idea or a question or a proposal, everyone's open. It's like, let's build this together. Oh, you're in? Cool, come in. And that's really amazing. And ideally, how the world should be, right? So there's a utopia brewing there that I think, not to be too naive about it, but I think it's really powerful.
Yeah.
No, I think that's definitely the goal, and that's something I wanted to say at the end too. It's still, even though the stuff has been around for a couple years, it's still so early, and there's I think a huge responsibility that comes with that. You can, kind of like Amir was saying, use these technologies for basically anything and everything, and that means anything and everything good and anything and everything bad. And we have an opportunity to kind of model behaviors right now, and whether that means how we engage with each other in a Discord, or how we release work, or how we build smart contracts to make new methods of distribution, monetization for artists possible. It's really important that people with their hearts in the right place are involved now. So just want to echo that. Like, if you're curious or passionate or want to learn more, whatever it might be, there's so many people who are sharing information constantly on Discords and Clubhouse, on Twitter, and are also down to have conversations. And on our end, if you type catalog.community into your web browser, it should take you to our Discord. You can hop in there and start talking to folks, DM me, whatever it might be, and hopefully we can be of use.
Beautiful. Thank you all
so much. And thank you to everyone who tuned in and watched. The video is going to stay online, so if you want to share it around, please do so. If you're a creative, musician, artist, listener, music lover, whatever it might be, we're, as you can tell, really excited about the space and have a lot of belief in its growth and evolution. So let's go. Let's get it, right?
Let's go.
Let's do this.
So thank you all again. And you can see on the screen everyone's Twitters and websites. If you'd like to follow, reach out, DM, look into what we're doing. Please feel free to do so. And I'll pop that up again in a minute. Just going to sign out and say goodbye to you all. Thank you again. You're all amazing.
Thank you, Mark.
Fanny, well, appreciate you, Mark.
Good last comment from Brainiac too. Shout out to you, brother. That's awesome.
Yes, there we go.
There we go. It's in our hands to build the future of the creative economy, and that all of us deserve, including fans, collectors, or people that appreciate art in general. Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Let's do this.
Utopia, here we come.
Right there.
Here we go.
So you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you online and hopefully IRL soon.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Awesome. See you out
Take
there.
care, guys.
Peace, y'all. Stay safe.
All right. Peace.